Thanks for being here with me today as we talk through a rapidly changing landscape. I want to shout out a few disclaimers, things I have to say. These opinions are my own and they do not represent Autodesk, where I work as a UX researcher. They do not represent Claremont Graduate University, where I am a professor and the director of the UX Master's Program in Applied Cognitive Psychology. I'm just sharing thoughts with you, human to human today, researcher to researcher, nerd to nerd. So I want to start off with, if you don't mind getting out your phones, folks online, you can jump on via browser or scan the QR code. Tell me a little bit about where you are sitting in terms of your attitudes toward AI tools. How are you feeling about AI thinking?
So thank you. We are in the 5 stages of grief, my friends. And I was just saying that because we're all in different stages, I'm going to upset everyone and anyone today, no matter what I say. But I'm a researcher, so like I'm kind of used to upsetting rooms full of product and UX people. So that won't be new either. Okay, so everyone's at a different stage. I've gone through these stages. Honestly, my experience with AI is probably a lot like yours. And maybe the only difference is that I spend my whole day with scientists and researchers all day, every day. So when I think about my AI journey, I like to describe it in terms of developmental stages of predatory birds. Yeah, this usually goes over really well with my audiences. Here we are. It's the end of 2022, and I've met ChatGPT for the first time. Little goofy ball of fluff. It's amusing. It's a little bit ghastly, right? Kind of an adorable experiment. Questionable future. I'm hearing this thing is going to turn into something magnificent, but I'm not yet convinced. And I can't even really decide if it's useful or if I just can't look away. And I just keep typing in queries to see what it will do. Fast forward a little bit, like early mid 2023. Okay, here we have an absurd toy with a little glimmer of progress. I'm getting kind of used to having a goofy digital companion. And my relationship with ChatGPT, LLMs at this point is I have it create something so I can then laugh at it and use that validation energy to propel me to do something meaningful, right? I'm seeing nods, I'm encouraged. So this is 2023 for me. This pudgy prepubescent thing is not gonna automate my value. I'm fine. And honestly, anyone raving about it, I kind of wrote off as a hype blogger or something. So that's me in 2023. Plenty of videos out there, me expressing this. By the end of 2023, this thing starts molting. Only way to describe it. And it's becoming something very concerning and a little bit unnatural and strange, right? Sometimes it's impressive, sometimes it's freaking concerning. And usually a combination of both. I'm reluctantly starting to tell my UX master students at this point that they better start getting familiar because I think this thing is going to start becoming a part of our research process. But honestly, I'm kind of afraid at what that means. So here we are, 2023, just hanging on. And early 2024, I realized this ugly baby can fly. I'm starting to see the rough outline now of the vision. And in just a few months, I honestly went from being majorly skeptical, majorly vocally skeptical, to frantically changing the entire curriculum of the UX Math program. So here's the mentions of AI in my class, semester by semester. And currently I counted for the past couple weeks on average about 6 AI tools, unique AI tools. And I can't stop talking about AI and how it's going to impact us all. Now, folks, it is not like an elegant Lord of the Skies yet, right? It is not there just yet in many ways, but I'm now viewing AI as like a primary pillar of our work. And it's unavoidable, it's exciting, it's powerful, and it's coming with a lot of new challenges. I honestly think that like when this period of rapid change settles down, its final form is going to be majorly impactful for all of our work. I'm not really sure what that final form is going to look like or the kind of impact that form will have, but I am hoping for the best and I am optimistic. So if you are here and you are skeptical, I'm with you. I'm really with you. But let's for a moment assume that a lot of the AI hype is real. It's probably going to become a fearsome eagle, maybe a modern day velociraptor that you will need to adopt. And if you haven't already kind of hit that acceptance stage, I encourage you to dabble in it today. Just kind of dabble in it for an hour. No harm will befall you, I promise. Behaving the hype is real for the next hour is like, maybe you'll invest in some skills later that are uniquely human. Oh no. And maybe you'll automate some procedural tasks. Also okay. So just wanted to level set. I think now that we're all done with our psychological damage and in the acceptance headspace, just like that, I want to talk to you a little bit about the tools that are out there that I'm seeing bubble up. What kind of tools? This is the question I get the most from other researchers is like, what's even out there? Perhaps your organization doesn't let you just yet adopt some of these tools if you're in a high compliance regulatory space, right? So what's even out there? What should I be investing my time in? And I want to start off by saying there are like 100, more than 100 tools marketed toward UX and market researchers right now that are AI tools. So I can't possibly cover them all today. I'm seeing that they kind of fall into like 6 to 8 categories. So I'm going to try to cover some of those that I'm really excited about and give you this little tool tour kind of with my personal assessment and a warning label you didn't ask for, but that the vendors probably won't give you. So here we go. First type of tool, no one's going to be shocked. Desk research. Wow. So general purpose large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc. can all be used for a little bit of desk research, as you've all done, right? Like who here has used one of these general purpose models to do a little bit of desk research? Yes, like it's the first thing you did, right? You do it every day, perhaps. I asked it like what cream to put on my skin. Like I'm in there all the time, right? So are you. So these are the general purpose models, but there are also other specialized models that I think deserve a little home in your mind right now. Consensus, Elicit are just 2 examples of specialized tools that query only scientific data, only scientific literature. So this is very good because now you have these reputable sources of scientific literature that you can query with these specialized models that are tuned to not be so creative, to stay true to the scientific literature, which is useful, right? Like psychological principles of gamification or behavioral change or how people make value judgments. Like you could learn something from those things and apply it directly to your design decisions. So this is a great avenue to be doing that. There are also market research and competitive tools like Clue or Crayon. And this is one of those situations where they are, if you're in a space where you have a really competitive market and you're always trying to find where that gap is to play, maybe you're trying to establish product market fit or move into a new strategic domain. These are tools designed to be surveying the competitive landscape for you and monitoring and alerting and saying, here's what's in the news, here's the changes they're making to their website, like crawling for you, summarizing everything together. So those tools exist as well. And I think we're only going to see more tools in the like market research space and in this more scientific literature, best practices space. So something to be aware of. My caution label, of course, is generalized LLMs, very prone to hallucinations, right? We all know that. Prompt wisely, prompt carefully, verify everything. But some of these other tools, these specialized tools, it's worth it to have a little bit of a conversation with those vendors related to like, what are their data sources? Especially for your purpose. You may have a context like healthcare or something where you want to be pulling from certain data sources, but not others. So I would see if you're gonna go for one of these tools, I would be prepared to kind of grill those vendors on their data sources and their data source transparency. Because that's the value you're getting from these specialized tools compared to a generalized large language model. So that's one like tip you didn't ask for, but something that came to my mind. Finally, generalizability. So you have a unique context, a unique product, a unique population. The further you are from the well-trodden path, the less some of these insights may generalize to your context. And I think most folks already kind of internalize that and know that. So this is desk research. The key thing here is just remember that it's secondary research. It's not primary research. You didn't go out and get your own data firsthand from your population. You're taking from the work a bunch of other people did. You're cherry picking things and you're generalizing them to your domain. We do this all the time in research and very valid use of these tools today. So enjoy desk research tools, right? Super great. The next type of tool I want to talk about is design and prototyping tools. How many have tried? Anyone tried? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About half of you. Yes. I was so excited when I saw some of these come into the market that I was looking to get in there as quickly as possible. So these are tools where you can enter in a natural language prompt and it will spit out high fidelity mockups or wireframes if you choose of that experience that you're describing. So fantastic for concept tests, great, fast, sacrificial level designs where you just need to get something that sort of encompasses the value prop of the feature or the app or the whatever you're working on. You get that in front of stakeholders or users and take it to the next level. Great for that kind of thing. They also, a lot of these tools like Wizard, UX Pilot, you can export to Figma. It's all components. You can change things really simply, easily, which is helpful too. This is great for folks who don't have much of a design background, or like maybe you just have limited time to design something hi-fi for a sacrificial purpose. Here is an example that I used in class. This is Wizard, spelled with a UI, just to freak us all out. This is Wizard, and I just asked it to make me a task reminder app. Very haphazard prompt I threw into this thing, and it spit out these screens. Gave the same prompt to UX Pilot, gave me this screen. So like designer focused people, you're probably seeing these are like very well-known, well-established design systems that it's pulling from, things like Material, and very generic or well-established design patterns and practices, kind of what I've noticed. My warning to you, my warning to you, sorry for the flip, is they're generic by definition. So great for first pass, but not great for like creative amazingness. Some of the user flows start to break down a little bit the farther you go with these things. So if you're doing a very elaborate set of screens and many user flows, you might need to readjust and be doing things very iteratively. But pretty awesome to get from here, like from 0 to 1. I do want to warn everyone about the IKEA effect. So in cognitive psych, we have this endowment thing. And, you know, human brains do fun things all the time. One of those fun things is that when you create something yourself, you get really emotionally attached to it. Think your baby. Pretty attached to those kids, aren't you? That's what I'm saying. So designers, it was a joke, it was a joke. The designers that I've worked with, you know, they've gone through this and they figured out how to manage their egos, of course. But our stakeholders don't have that training. So just be aware when you hand a stakeholder this tool who isn't used to designing and getting critiques and all of that, that they may have some really strong emotional attachments to whatever they create. How do you do that? Tell them it's funny. There's this thing called the IKEA effect. You're going to get in there and you're going to love whatever you make, even if it's garbage. Let's go. Just level set with your team, and you know your stakeholders, right? So wherever they are, you may not need to have that conversation, but I think it's a good one to just be aware of. So yeah, great little tools that are popping up, lots of little Figma plugins and things like that along these same lines. Next set of tools that I loved is AI moderation. So these are tools like Outset or Herd, and they are exactly what you think. An AI moderates your qualitative interview or your usability test. So I have a little example here. It's a very fast video. You ready? Okay, so here we are. This is Outset, and this is from the participant's perspective. So as a participant, I get a link, I follow it, and it's giving me some instructions. Like, we're going to ask you some questions. Make sure you click the button before you start talking. Is everything set up correctly? Oh, yes. Let me just make sure I have the right mic and camera. Oh, there I am. And test, and then I get in there. So then it asks me to say, I'm ready to kind of practice, I think. And then, can you name your company? And I say, I don't have a company, and I click it. And it's like, oh, thanks for letting me know. Could you be a little bit more detailed about your role and how you do research? And I say, I'm an independent researcher. That's not true, but I wanted to see what it would do. It says, oh, can you walk me through how you currently conduct research? What does your process look like? And I say, I do research on product ideas I have in the shower. And it says, thanks for sharing that. Could you tell me more about the specific steps you take when researching your product ideas? For example, how do you gather information or feedback? Are there any tools or methods you rely on during the process? So it is generating, based on my answers, these probes, these follow-up questions, and it's digging into the why. On the platform side, as the researcher, you tell it the research questions, and you can make those static, or you can let it do this. And there are different levels of probing you can do. So it can go and go and go, which can get a little bit annoying as a user when it asks you why 5 times. Or it can just do a kind of light probing, depending on your answers. So this is how this works. Back. Okay, this is how this works. My great things I love about it. Multilingual is built into Outset. So if you have a global user population and you're going through like translators and things are really slowing you down, you can get something out. I'm not saying it will be perfect, but you can get something out where you are entering all the prompts in as English. I used Japanese for a study. because we have a Japanese user base. And this is a big blocker for me, big bottleneck trying to get these multilingual studies out there, right? So it translates into Japanese for the user, does its prompting, and then it translates those insights back into English for you as it feeds you the summary or the data. Probably not perfect, but you guys, I can't tell you how often I haven't even been able to collect data from certain populations because we can't do the translations fast enough. So I'm okay with taking a little bit of a hit on the quality here while I can get this rich data from my diverse user base. Love the multilingual bit. Time zones, scheduling. It's just like an unmoderated test now. So you don't have that bottleneck, which is awesome for things like qualitative interviews, usability tests. It follows a really similar pattern with usability tests where it'll just kind of ask, why? Why didn't you like that? What's confusing about it? It's very consistent as well. This is a really rare problem, but some of you may have experienced it where your stakeholders aren't very good moderators. It is a joke, it is, yeah. So maybe they're hungry, maybe their performance review's in an hour, maybe it's the end of their day, whatever. What's great about the AI moderator is it's not affected by any of those things. So it's a very consistent moderator. That is also its downfall, as you probably suspected. So it has no social tact. It can't respond to the nuances of like social cues or facial expressions, and it doesn't know when to slow down or to stop something. So sensitive topics, would not recommend, but for a lot of things, this could be really useful to people. When it comes to participants engaging with this thing, I read a lot of reviews that said folks were surprised that their less technically proficient users were actually pretty okay in this platform. So that was something that I wondered about. And like, maybe I would provide another channel if there are people who don't want to engage with the AI. Like maybe I provide another way they schedule with me or something. But I think I'm hearing for the most part that folks are surprised. And we talked to the call routing bots on the phone. So people kind of have this pattern in their minds a little bit. So that's AI moderation. Great, great little realm, I think, for us to be hanging out in. Kind of like a dynamic survey is how I think about it a lot of the time. It's not quite a qualitative interview and not quite a survey, but it's dynamic in that way. Okay, spicy topic. You ready for this one? Of course you are. User simulation, synthetic users. Oh yes, it's fit. Yeah, this should be spicy. I think you should all be reasonably spiced up about this. This user simulation category, it takes different forms, right? So you may have heard about platforms that have been creating fictional or synthetic audiences or personas, and then you go in and natural language talk to your persona, and you learn about your user that way. So yes, ooh, the spices are rising, I'm sure. There are other user simulation platforms that are heat maps. So they are simulating clicks, like behavioral data, or gaze patterns, like eye tracking data. So they'll take in your design and they'll give you a heat map of where they think the gaze patterns will be, where they think the clicks will be. So yes, you should be a little bit riled. It's reasonable to be very riled about this. Just a reminder that I am a cognitive psychologist who teaches a UX research master's program. My entire personality is research, like human research. Understanding the humanness of humans is my whole shtick. So yeah, I had some feelings about this, right? It took me a lot to overcome my negative emotional reaction. This is like staring into the void stuff for me, okay? So I can't sleep at night, right? But I've come to the conclusion that these things are actually useful as long as they're used responsibly, as all things, right? So pros, fast pilot testing. Don't waste humans' time. Get that first pass. Think through it, right? Get the first initial 0 to 1 information on something. Don't treat it like data, treat it like a pilot test, like you're just testing your test. It can also spark really good conversations with your stakeholders. Think like expedite the conversations you know you're gonna have when they see data and it's maybe not so aligned, or maybe it is aligned with their assumptions, right? Expediting those conversations is really useful. So seeing something simulated is nice. Another thing, you have a special population, really hard to find them, only have 5 people, 5 friendlies you can reach out to. Well, this is a great supplemental thing. If your user base revolves around people who don't have access to the internet, for example, as long as the platform has reputable sources on those people, you may learn a thing or two about your user population, right? The thing, this may be a little academic, I'm not gonna lie, but like the thing that helps me sleep at night, honestly, is these are just models of human behavior. They're just models, predictive models of attitudes and behaviors. And as a stats person, I already base like the majority of my decisions on models of people, of human behavior, right? Like take a random sample from the population, make a bunch of decisions as if it's a good model of the population. So I already do this, and this is just another way to model human behavior. Am I going to put this in the hands of someone who doesn't have a research background anytime soon? You're going to fight me on it. You're going to fight me a little bit because I'm not going to want to do that. But I think it can be responsibly used. Now, I do think that these models become less reliable the more unique your situation is, can't account for nuance or things like that. One review that I read was like, it's such an agreeable persona. Like, do you engage in forums to learn more about the product? Yes, I do all the time. Like, it's kind of an agreeable person. So it kind of still has that LLM wants to please you thing. So take it with a grain of salt. Remember, this is secondary research, not primary research. And we shouldn't treat it like primary research. It's just doing research on other people's research. All models are wrong. Some are useful, right? So this is just another model that's wrong, but can be useful. Okay, so there's my whole processing little cycle with synthetic users and user simulation. On to analysis and synthesis. We know these guys. These are our old friends, right? Qualitative analysis tools, quantitative analysis tools. What's great, what's different is you can quickly process qual data at scale across channels a little bit faster. And you can tag things first pass a little bit faster. So that's really helpful, as you all know. Low barrier to entry these days with quant stuff. Like, you can run some pretty decent stats without knowing any Python or R. You can grab some SQL queries from ChatGPT, and sometimes they work out totally great. I am a little shook, a little hurt. I spent a decade working on those skills for myself, and I let it go. But I am actually really impressed with how far this has come in such a short period of time. And I think the quant space is just going to keep ratcheting up because it's a hard space to be a specialist in. I still think my knowledge of stats, and I catch it all the time on things, But I still think there's a space for specialists like me, but I think our contexts where we're gonna be like so valuable are gonna get smaller. So just my 2 cents on the quant stuff. All the qual things, yeah, mixed results. You know, if your product is kind of jargony, or if you have specialists of some kind, they really break down. Like I was using Dovetail a couple weeks ago, and I was using their automated AI tagging tool. And I think I accepted like 30% of its suggestions because I had a lot of jargon, I had specialists, and it just could not hang with me. So I know Dovetail is coming out with a whole bunch of new features. I'm really excited for them. I don't want to like pigeonhole Dovetail. This is some really bird conversation. I don't want to pigeonhole Dovetail. I really do think that the 30% is going to end up being 50, 70%. Could be in 3 months, right? So I'm going to keep using the tool and keep seeing how far it goes. My jargon heavy context, but that's when you're going to miss things. That's when you're going to miss qual themes, is when there's nuance or metaphor or jargon. That's what I'm finding. That's when these things really start to break. So keep that in mind. Still prone to hallucinations. I was running a little focus group the other day, and I had the AI summarize it, and it couldn't prioritize my insights very well. So in the focus group, we had a little 2-minute sidebar on a topic that had nothing to do with anything. And the AI summary was like, these 2 minutes are the most important thing that happened in that entire conversation. It was absolutely not. And it drew all these connections to that unrelated topic for all the other context, right? So it couldn't really, it knew that theme was really clear. It's really different. And it made a bunch of kind of hallucinated connections between the rest of the topics and that unique topic. So still need human oversight, right? Prioritizing things and watching out for those kinds of things. But I think most folks have been playing in this space enough to know that at this stage. So I'm really hopeful. I'm really hopeful about our analysis and synthesis tools. Last category here is repositories. So this is a feature in a lot of the well-known name brand, if you're a researcher, platforms. Folks are putting into their platforms like natural language AI repositories. So all the research you've done, imagine product manager comes in, can natural language query your whole wiki and get those findings that you've done over the past 2 years, 3 years. It's like, here are all the research studies and here's a summary of the findings. Wow, wow, wow. I'm stoked. Easy access, low barrier to entry for research findings for stakeholders. If you have a giant repository, if you have a high volume of research being conducted at your organization, and your bottleneck is people can't get to it, use it, find what they're looking for, this is where it's at. And I think that's why a lot of these like enterprise tools are going into this space. So my wording label on this is, I don't know. I think they're great. The only thing I could think of is like, it's pretty expensive right now to have these kinds of things. So I wouldn't recommend it for any organization. But I do think these are really great use cases of these natural language AI tools. So super excited about that. So I guess the only other thing I'll say about like repositories or things, just thinking about making sure the inputs are good and using AI to help you with your documentation and reports, which is great for folks like me who, you know, obviously don't use AI a whole lot in their presentations and come up with predatory bird developmental stages for something. Like maybe that wasn't a great thing. Maybe AI could have flagged that for me if I had engaged. But great way to kind of make sure your inputs are good, and then the repository could really have a lot of value. Smarter tools. Same mission as always, folks, right? We're collecting meaningful insights, we're driving decisions. Maybe at a larger scale, faster speed, more triangulation, more data, more confidence sometimes, certain types of more bias, but mission is the same. Collect insights, drive decisions. Just a few high-level, 3-4 high-level tips for successfully adopting some of these. One thing I see is that y'all are prepping too much. You're prepping too much. And I'm not talking about like legal and compliance, reviewing tools and all that. You need to do that. I'm talking about you and me. I think we're all kind of prepping too much. We're reading a lot of books and we're going to a lot of talks and we're signing up for boot camps and we're taking online courses, right? And we're just consuming all this information. But some of us aren't practicing enough. And what I'm finding is like, you totally should be skilling up. Don't get me wrong. You should be doing all that stuff. But to skill up and to really keep up when the tools are changing faster than you can pretty much learn them right now, the only way through this mess at this rapid change state is practice, is just getting in there and using stuff. It's the fastest way. Your brain will learn what's happening, what the strengths and weaknesses are, is to adopt in a messy way, in a way you don't want to. Get in there, start practicing. I'm not saying don't do the, prompt engineering boot camp, but folks, if you spend like $1,000 on one of those things and all of that's outdated in 3 months, that's gonna be hurt. That's gonna be hurt. It was a weird sentence, so I said it twice. Yeah, that's not gonna be great. So I'd say during this stage, just adopt, get in there, stop prepping, start practicing. But Danielle, I can't practice. I'm unemployed and my organization is high regulatory compliance. I can't jump into these tools. I totally get it. One way you can jump in is just get into the generalized models, know those really well, right? Some of those can help you know them well. So example, I don't know, I'm gonna pull this out of nowhere. I work in healthcare, ChatGPT, and I'm redesigning a healthcare portal. Don't put it in an actual business case, but just something generic for your industry. Let's walk through the different stages of the research process and figure out how you can help me. Okay, I'm an agreeable bot and I'm gonna help you do that. So then you can take your, have it generate fake data for you that you can analyze. Have it generate a research plan and then look at that and decide what you would change. Take 2 hours and just kind of go through the process with the bot and you'll see a lot of the ways it's very strong and a lot of the ways it's weak. So that's general purpose tools. A lot of these little tools, I have a list at the end here, but a lot of these little tools have demos, like what I showed you with Wizard and UX Pilot. Those are just a little demo, free trial thing. You can just get in there and see what it's like.
Go to James.
So I recommend doing all of that. A really great author, Ethan Mollick, and his team wrote a paper, and a lot of you probably heard of this paper. It was about the Boston Consulting Company improved the quality of their work by 40% using AI. What most people miss about that paper is those consultants weren't given any training, specialized tools. They were just thrown into some general purpose ChatGPT or Claude-esque tool, and they increased the quality of their work by 40%. You don't need to do this to perfection to get a really huge gain in your output here. So jump in. It's gonna be fine. My next point though is about transparency. So this is something I've started thinking about doing. As I'm reporting out to my stakeholders, I'm now starting to think about every single thing needs a label on it. Either AI generated, human verified, AI summary, take with caution, manually coded and synthesized by humans. All of those, put a little label on every slide. So your stakeholders know where the lines are between human and bot. It's going to help you with your just troubleshooting of any kind of problems that happen, but it's also just good proactive transparency when it comes to like, yes, you're adopting the tools and you're also doing your rigorous review of things where it makes sense. So label everything, be really proactively transparent. At least that's what I'm doing. I don't know. The next is just like your value. This is back to, we're back into like psychological damage territory. But back to your value, you're a risk mitigator now, is how I see it. So like, almost like you're a symphony conductor. You're a symphony conductor. You don't have to play the bassoon super, super well anymore. Congrats. But you do need to understand how the bassoon works, what the bassoon sounds like, and how it works in the whole picture of the symphony. And you kind of need to understand all of these tools and what they sound like and how they all work together for this, right? So I don't think any of us would say the symphony conductor doesn't know music. And I also don't think any of us would say that anyone can stand in front of a symphony and wave a stick and get a masterful experience. A good group of tools, a good group of symphony members could, hang in there and give you something, right? But I do think there's going to still be this space for that conductor level, that orchestration level of practitioner. So that's the way I'm viewing it now. That's how I'm teaching now. I'm trying to push away from hyperfixation on like whether the bassoon is hitting every single note perfectly and more on the holistic view of risk mitigation. And wherever the highest risk is, that's where you put the human effort. So that's the approach I'm taking. Yeah. So AI is coming for your job. Totally. It came for my job. Y'all, half my job's gone. Half my job is AI right now. So yes, AI is coming for your job. And it's okay. Honestly, I think embracing your evolving role here is the way through. It's the way to success. You can definitely grieve the things that are changing. Change is hard and uncomfortable, but I think embracing what's happening and leaning into these skills is the best way to go. What got you there, or what got you here won't get you there, essentially. So here are those tips that I gave you at a high level in case you're a picture taker. AI is coming for your job. Embrace the evolving role. Evolution is never easy. And honestly, find a community who can support you as they're going through it too. I think you all are in the right spot, literally and figuratively right now. Trying to engage with other folks who are navigating these waters as well. But definitely jump in, right? Jump in and stay connected with other people as you navigate this space. The fear that we are all having, I think, is going to save you. Like, we're all afraid that robots are going to make our research less human. But I think if you get into these tools and use the skills you have and that expertise, you're actually going to find the opposite, that the robots are going to make your research more human-centered than it ever has been before. And I just want you to